Hey there, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We're halfway through the work week. King 5 meteorologist Adam Claibon here to talk about how the nice couple of days we've had back on yesterday and here throughout most of today, where we've seen generally no rain here across western Washington, is going to come to an end. The weather is going to turn a lot more wet, kind of breezy at times too, as we head here over the next couple of days to end off the work week, where we're expecting to see some really heavy amounts of rain up across parts of the south slopes of the Olympics and heading into the Olympic Mountains, as we'll have the atmospheric river kind of ride right along that coast. Now, we are going to see rain here closer to Puget Sound as well, but it doesn't look like it's going to be quite as high of amounts. Could still see some impacts from that, though, as we head on into the next couple of days. But first, let's talk about what's happening out there. And you can see the skies beginning to cloud up, at least there in Tacoma. You can see a few more of those clouds beginning to arrive. Mount Rainier still visible, though. Always nice to see her every day we can here during this time of the year. And then you can see here in Seattle, actually have some blue skies still out there, but you can definitely tell with the clouds approaching from the south and from the west is starting to block some of that sunlight that we were able to see here through the earlier parts of the day. Out closer to Westport, a lot cloudier there, plus, yeah, there's a raindrop right there. Some showers now beginning to arrive. They're closer to the coast, and we expect that to continue to be the case here as we head on into the night there and all across western Washington. But Bellingham, we're going to try to soak up every last bit of sunshine we can here before that happens. Big picture, there you go. You can see that big swirling area of low pressure out over the Pacific Ocean. Pretty impressive. Now it is farther away, so that's going to keep some of the stronger winds away from impacting us, but we still expect to see some of those winds really pick up. And plus, you can definitely tell the brighter clouds, all of those whites that you see farther south, that's where we're getting more of a direct hit from this atmospheric river down into Northern California and Southern Oregon. That tries to sneak its way a little farther north here as we go into the night and for Thursday. So you can see for your forecast here this evening, still some small chance of showers. If you have any early evening plans, I think to about 6, 7, maybe even 8 p.m., no big worries about getting soaked. It's as we go deeper into the night, 10 to 11, and then afterwards that we expect to see more of that widespread rain beginning to come in. So speaking of the rain, here it is. You can start to see that along the south coast down there around Astoria, starting to head up northward there around Aberdeen and parts of Westport, heading north to around Tahoe now. Starting to see a few of those light showers heading towards us there. And then for Forks, Quileute, and up around Neah Bay. But generally, yeah, it looks like it's still quite a ways away from parts of Puget Sound, especially Central and North Sound. So we're going to call it probably more of a nighttime event for us before that starts to arrive. That's going to head northward. You can still see that big spinning area of low pressure out over the Pacific, really helping to drive a lot of what we're seeing here with this as we go into the night. So 8 p.m., a few showers around, very spotty, but then 10 to 11 and then past midnight, expect that the rain starts to come down a bit heavier. And initially too, you can see snow levels will be low enough that we start to see snow initially there across some parts of the Olympics. Now that is going to quickly change as this atmospheric river moisture starts to take over. It's usually warmer and comes along with a warmer air mass, so that starts to shrink, and you can see that disappearing as we go into early tomorrow morning. Temperatures not going to cool down a whole lot because of that, so expect more low to maybe more mid-40s for some of those overnight lows. Rain, a lot of it still training over some of the same areas here over the Olympic Peninsula and parts of the Kitsap Peninsula as well, especially the western half. That's where we'll get some of the heaviest amounts of rain here throughout the night. Farther to the east here around Puget Sound, heading up into the foothills of the Cascades, and maybe even expecting a little snow initially with the Cascades around the passes, but with the warmer air taking over, not expecting it to be a big snow event for us into those parts. But you can see from 8 o'clock tomorrow morning all the way through 3 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, same spots again over the Olympic Peninsula, really getting hit the hardest with areas of rain kind of off and on the farther east you go. Then we go into late tomorrow night into early Friday around midnight. You can see some of those showers starting to come together a little more, but they break apart as well. And we keep that trend going while it looks like snow levels start to really crank up as we get around 6,500 to 7,000 feet. A lot of the snow that was around the passes, or at least across parts of the Cascades, now beginning to disappear, and just generally more going to be a North Cascades sort of hitter when it comes to some of that snow as we head into that time into early Friday morning. Here we are closer to about 5 a.m. at that point. But again, the main story remains out over the Olympic Peninsula, western halves of the Kitsap Peninsula. That's where we're going to see the rain really come down heavily probably produce some issues when it comes to flooding within some of the rivers and creeks and streams there. We'll keep the rain going on into Friday, but it is going to decrease as we go throughout the day there, and we'll see fewer chances on into the evening about 5 o'clock, and expect much less of it as we head on into late Friday night into early Saturday, with just a few more light showers going to be around as we head on into the start of the weekend. So let's go ahead and talk about some of those amounts of rain that we're expecting. Looks like we're going to get up around 1 to 2, and I think it's really 2 to 4 by the time we head into late Friday out over the Olympic Peninsula and into the foothills and into the Olympic Mountains there. Expect some of those amounts maybe to get localized, some around 4, 5, maybe 6 inches of rain. It can get pretty high there into the mountainous areas, and that all that water is going to come flowing down the Olympics, and that's why especially some of our main spots like the Skokomish River in Mason County, we'll be keeping an eye out for some areas of flooding to go along with that. Elsewhere farther to the east, you can see amounts around 1 inch, perhaps 2, as we go throughout the next 2 to 3 days into early Saturday morning there around Puget Sound, as we expect to see lighter amounts of rain over into some of those areas, and again, very spotty areas of possible flooding there. But another issue that we're going to keep an eye on for is some possible avalanches. Some of this moisture going to come down on some of the snow that we've already had here across the Olympics, and more so over the Cascades. So something to definitely be weary of as we head here into the weekend if you're going to be trying to do any sort of outdoor activities. Plus mudslides too, with some of the heavier rain that we're going to see moving on through a good chunk of that over parts of the Olympic Peninsula and western parts, again, of the Kitsap Peninsula. For today, it's still nothing but sunshine. Farther north, we'll see skies stay sunny with temperatures in the mid to perhaps even upper 50s, and a few locations up there up to 57. I think we'll see highs closer to 60 around Bellevue and Issaquah here later this afternoon. Low 50s around areas such as Redmond. We'll see highs farther south in the mid to upper 50s. Again, a dry day for us around Puget Sound. We'll see more of the rain come back in as we go later tonight and into the day for tomorrow. And then, yes, the rain coming back in tonight as those overnight lows drop only into the mid and upper 40s, a few lower 50s. And one last look at the forecast. If you have any family, if you're heading down to Santa Clara, it's still looking like it's going to be wet, but at least we have playoff football, right? Seahawks 49ers, temperatures in the low to mid 50s. Kickoff on Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Here's your 7-day forecast. We'll call for a first alert weather day on tomorrow as we'll get some of those areas of rain to move on through. Another thing, of course, that we're keeping an eye out for too will be those areas that could perhaps produce some landslides and a very small chance of maybe some avalanches too within some of the Cascades, as we'll get some of that rain to fall on some of the snow, creating a heavier top layer, eventually possibly giving way in a few spots. But we'll head on into Friday. We'll see those chances of rain decreasing throughout the day, but still pretty breezy at times, and expecting to keep looks like a little more of the rain around as we head on into the weekend. Monday, Martin Luther King Day, going to be a holiday for a lot of us, expecting it to stay dry, partly sunny skies, and 48 degrees. We'll take that, especially on a holiday. Well, everyone, I try to make sure to be careful. Of course, keep an eye out if you're going to be close to any sort of body of water here as we head over the next couple of days. We're talking about those lakes, those streams, those creeks, and yes, those rivers too, especially if you're within that area over the Olympic Peninsula or either over the Kitsap Peninsula, where the heaviest rain is expected to be. Take care. We'll talk to you later.
For more local news coverage, live and on demand, watch King 5 Plus. Download free on Roku and Fire TV.